Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. For today's video, it's going to be all about the original movie Knives Out that came out in 2019. So let's get into it here. For me, with this movie coming out in 2019, I watched it in the theaters and I gotta say I loved this movie. I'm doing a review of this movie since later on this month, at the end of this month, there's going to be a sequel to this one called Knives Out Glass Onion, which I'm very excited to see. So this is the reason why I'm doing this review, so the sequel is coming out there. But in terms of this movie, as I mentioned, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. For me, when it comes to like genres of movies, I really love heist movies and murder mystery whodunit type movies. I absolutely enjoy and love too, and this one just really complemented that whodunit type movies so well. Rian Johnson, the director of this movie, did such a fantastic job. I cannot wait to see what he does with the Knives Out Part 2, and I know earlier this week he mentioned about wanting to do a third movie and like a whole franchise with this. And honestly, with the way he did Knives Out Part 1 and from what I've seen from that one trailer I've seen with Knives Out Part 2, I really want more of this franchise. And essentially with like Knives Out, the movie, it's basically about a novelist who mysteriously dies, and you've got this detective investigating the family, trying to figure out who done it basically. But what I really liked with this, it had a brilliant blending and a great balance of thriller, murder mystery, comedy, just all rolled into one. It was perfectly balanced, perfectly weighted. The director, like I said, did a fantastic job, like the cinematography and like the scenes. Like in one particular scene, you've got Daniel Craig's character, just like this character Martha coming out, and it's completely dark, and then you just see the cigar lighting up and you see Daniel Craig's face just being focused in the dark. Probably my favorite scene in that whole movie, just because of the way it was shot and like it was visually looking fantastic vision from like Rian Johnson there. And in terms of the plot of the movie in itself, I've really enjoyed it, because like when with this one, you've got the cast of this movie, which I really loved the cast of this movie. Daniel Craig's character, who's playing the detective, did an extremely fantastic job in this movie. For me, like the way his like accent was, the way he was like portraying this detective, the standout of the movie in itself, and I cannot wait to see him in the sequel. The way he's like interacting with the characters, like timing his lines to perfection for me, just absolutely brilliant. And throughout the movie, you've got him like interacting with people, his timing when as I mentioned, when it comes to like the comedy lines and this more serious thriller lines, the way he's like policing everything, even one particular scene going in depth about a donut hole, just found it hilarious. But what I really enjoyed is in this movie, you sort of get an explanation of what happened, because basically you've got the character Martha, who's played by Armas. I'm so bad with names, I'm butchering this name as well. But basically she sort of accidentally given the drugs to the novelist, like the person that she's looking after, the grandparent of the whole family type of thing. So you sort of understand what exactly happened. You're given that information of like what exactly happened in this to this person, but then you sort of have like a unique twist, and there's sort of being ruled as a suicide, but then there's motives from everybody. So there was just a lot of like twists and turns throughout the movie, and like as I mentioned, Martha just did a fantastic job. Like Daniel Craig's character and Martha's character just playing off one another was really well done. And then at the end, you also find out that Daniel Craig's character figured out that Martha was behind it due to the blood on her shoes. But the way it was just like being portrayed was very unique and very well done. And then you have to speak about Chris Evans. Like Chris Evans' character, since he was mostly in the second half of the movie, just was so fantastic. Like Chris Evans' range is so unique, like going from Captain America, plays like this villain in The Grey Man, that also on Netflix. He's sort of like a villain-ish person throughout the movie, but then in the end, like you obviously see why he does. But it's just the way he's being portrayed, it's just fantastic. Like
You gotta do this more often. Up your ass, Joni. You've had your teeth in this family's tit for a long time.
Up your ass? Oh, very nice.
Matter of fact, eat shit. How's that? In fact,
Do not use that word in front of my son.
eat shit,
If I
eat
wasn't
shit,
practicing,
eat shit.
I would slap that smug smile.
Definitely eat shit. Eat shit.
These three are my standouts for me. Marta, Daniel Craig character, and Chris Evans character just are such standouts for me. And I love like the interactions between them, and I love like Chris Evans' motives as well, because you find out that he technically was orchestrating everything. You see that he's the one that actually really switched like the medicine, but then she switched it back, not knowing this actually didn't really kill him. So there was just so much like going on, but it was like very informative and very clever with like the way they do it, which I just found so fantastic for me. So I really love what they do. My only nitpick that I have when it comes to like this movie is that because you've got such a star-studded cast in this movie, you've got like, for me, two characters that weren't utilized as much, because you've got Jamieleecurtis's character, who's like the daughter of the person that gets murdered or commits suicide, and then you've got the boy who was in the Mr. Harrington's phone, who's played by Jaden Martell. For him especially, like I think he only has like 2 lines in the whole movie. He's sort of being like the butt end of the jokes. He's sort of like the one that's this Nazi person who's spent most of the time in the bathroom having a great time as a teenager, and just on his phone most of the time, so he wasn't really like utilized. And also with like Jamieleecurtis's character, she wasn't utilized as much as I would have preferred. I think she's like in like 3 scenes or 4 scenes. The big hilarious and great moment for me is when they're all like in the room. You've got Chris Evans' character who like tells everybody to eat shit. Chris Evans is so fantastic. Everybody just going back and forth, and then like once they reveal like the will being all sent to Martha, and just everybody's reaction.
All my assets, both liquid and otherwise, I leave in their entirety to Marta Cabrera. My entire ownership of Blood Like Wine Publishing, I leave in its entirety to Marta Cabrera.
It's right.
He's been.
Oh my God.
He's been.
Aren't there safeguards? Tell us there's a mistake.
I don't know what to say. We're his family, so.
It's not possible.
Are there safeguards against this? Right. Fine. Something. I think.
It's just really fantastic. Like this movie, I cannot give it enough praise.
I
can't open the damn.
I rewatched it in time for like the sequel and in time for like the review, and I just had such a fantastic time with it. The movie's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and you have such an enjoyable time with this movie. Like I cannot once again give it enough credit. So I would highly recommend this movie if you have not seen it. Watch this movie before the sequel comes out, and just watch the sequel, because Rian Johnson is a fantastic director and does a fantastic job with this movie, and I cannot wait to see what he does with the sequel. So for me, definitely a recommend, highly recommend, and very enjoyable movie. But overall, this is like my thoughts and my take on the movie in itself. If you've seen the movie, let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about it, if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, what you think of the franchise, and like what you think the sequel is, your anticipation of the sequel. Let me know down in the comment section below, because as I mentioned, this movie is so fantastic, and like the third act, the reveal, just like everything was just so perfect. So I love this movie. But again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos here. Tons of content coming your way on the channel here, along with like the Black Panther review coming out soon, and the weekly movie TV show updates coming out as well. So keep an eye out on the channel there, subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for listening though. This is YK Reviews. Peace.